Good evening, Greg here. Burn at both ends. Burn on the back end of Thursday. First day of summer, June 21st, 2018. And kind of a weird thing going on in this house is we are getting, half of us are getting bug bites. And you can see them on my neck here. Look, let me see if I do this right here. Right there's like 4 going down right here. And then I have like 5 on this side. And I have no idea what's biting me. I don't feel the bites. I just see them afterwards. Very strange. These ones on this side here just showed up after I got home from work, about an hour after I got home, and then these ones just showed up about half an hour ago. I have no clue, and it's just kind of a weird thing. And so I've been researching on Google and all kinds of weird, mites maybe, but I don't feel any of the bites, which is really kind of a strange thing. So, and then my poor 7-year-old daughter, she's also getting bitten, but my 4-year-old and my wife, no bites. So, not really sure what's going on. We don't think it's bed bugs. Mites, maybe. I have no idea. Allergic reaction. I'm not allergic to anything that I know of, but maybe I developed an allergy. I have no idea. So, I think I got to get to the doctor on this one. But anyway, kind of a weird start to tonight's post, but sometimes life is like that sometimes. Life is weird. But these bites will not stop me. So, the bites will burn with me. So anyway, let's get into it tonight. So bug bites aside. Anyway, and I put some tea tree oil on. I was researching some natural remedies. So tea tree oil is really good. And my wife actually just got into some aromatherapy, so we had some lying around. So I just put some on. So it smells really good, actually. I really like it. And then also with lavender, it's supposed to be really good. So I will try that. And all right, but let's get into today's post or tonight's post. So once again, the Success Journal just continues to produce, continues to remind me of things I should be doing, things I should be adding, and I'm really enjoying it, really keeping me on my game, and I like it. The 1 week chunk still is working out really well, and I have to admit, in about less than 10 minutes, I can, actually probably about closer to 5, I can go through the whole thing and kind of understand where I'm at as far as what might have dropped off my radar during the day, what things did I hit, what things do I need to add to it. So it really good. And then, I also really like this thing I've been doing where as I'm going through it, the things I realize will only take like a few minutes, I just bang them out right then and there as I'm going through it. So maybe, going through it takes maybe closer to 20 minutes or so, because if I find, let's say 5 to 7 things that I can just bang out real quick, I like to do that. So Success Journal is a success, at least at this point in time. So other cool things like with iCore. So today we had a great intellectual property discussion with our tech transfer office. So really interesting stuff that goes on with IP and patents and speaking to the lawyer. And there's this interesting concept, public disclosure. And it's such a gray area, and unfortunately gray, and then it kind of it defaults to you probably disclosed it already, so don't even patent it. Right? It kind of defaults there because the patents are expensive, right? We have to file the patent, and then we have to defend the patent. And if we can't defend public disclosure in a very black and white manner, then it gets really difficult. And because they're so expensive, these patents, a lot of the times they'll say it's not even worth trying to patent that because we're not going to be able to, defend public disclosure. And the story that they give about public disclosure is the story of the bra clasp, which I'm sure most of us know about. So the gentleman that invented it, I'm not sure who it was, but he rigged it up in his garage or in his basement, wherever he did it, and he took one of his wife's bras and he put the clasp on, and he just said, "Honey, check this out, see if you like this." And so she wore it for a couple days, as you can imagine, under garments, so no eyes saw it, but believe it or not, that was considered public disclosure. Interesting. So that's the thing, is that, and this is where we have to be careful. So for example, in a customer discovery interview, if if we're asking them about, what they'd like to see in the market, like we typically ask this question, like, hey, if you had a magic wand and you could have a machine, just appear that did exactly what you want, well, what would it do for you? And that's a really good way to draw out of them some real desirements and real, real big thinking kind of stuff. And so even if we kind of talk through that with them and explain that our technology might be able to address some of that, we have to be real careful, because that could be public disclosure. And the whole thing is, at some point in time, way in the future, let's just say past the patent, and then, because the record of this interview is known since we're taking this DOE training, so this interview is recorded, and it's known that we spoke to these people on this date. And how easy would it be for a court to go and tap these people on the shoulder and say, did they disclose this idea? Because what I did learn is that, so if we have a patent and now we're out in the world and we're leveraging the patent, and then we find someone else is infringing upon the patent, and we try to enforce the patent and sue them or whatever we would do, the first thing that they're going to do is try to essentially discredit the patent, and even to a point and say, like, you shouldn't have even gotten that patent in the first place. Right, that's the first thing that they're going to do. That's why if you just have one patent, it's kind of dangerous, because a really good, law firm is going to probably be able to at least discredit one patent. But if that's why a lot of people say, a lot of experts say, it's not one patent, it's a whole portfolio of patents. That way, this attempt to discredit a patent, and I'm not sure if I'm using the right word, it might be a different word, I'll just keep using it, but it might be a different word, to discredit the patent, right? They might be able to do one or two, but if you have like a whole set of like a dozen, they're not going to get through all 12. And so that's why this kind of like mountain of patents is important, but at the same time, it's extremely expensive to create that mountain of patents and to maintain it, right? So not only do we, would we have to file in the United States, but then you got to file in other countries. It's just, you can see it just gets very expensive in doing all that work. Now, of course, there are companies that specialize in that, and they have this mountain of patents, and that's what they do. And not only is it expensive to have the patents, but then it's also expensive to enforce the patents legally. So, this is the interesting thing about IP and about patents. So yeah, public disclosure. So you just got to be careful about that. And I'll learn this. So if I have an invention, and I walked through this example with them before, if I have an invention and it's like, let's say it's sitting inside a vacuum chamber and you literally cannot see inside the vacuum chamber, right? If I bring a person outside my organization into the room with the vacuum chamber, even though they don't know what's in there, they haven't seen it, the fact that they're in the room can be considered public disclosure. It's fascinating. How disappointing would that be, right? You have the wrong person walk in the room, and all of a sudden, years of potential work could be maybe not down the drain, but anyway, it's such an interesting space to be in, and to ask questions, and to get a lawyer in the room, and to kind of ask a question and then see kind of the fear behind his eyes come out, or her eyes come out, as far as, because they know what it takes to defend this thing, and you can just see that they're gonna recommend against the patent in a lot, because they're gonna play it safe as well, because there's a limited budget to go, to file these patents. So the other thing that we covered this week on Wednesday, we had a lecture about price, right? And price versus cost. So price is what the customer pays, cost is what the company pays to make the product, right? And so and the key thing is this, is like, price is not based off cost. Price is based off value that is provided to the customer. And this is very interesting, because this is where learning the market and learning the price points and learning like the returns on investments, the competitors' price points, the real value that it's bringing. If we can learn, in dollar amounts, how much we're saving our customer per item, right? If they're making, light bulbs, let's just say, and with our new machine, they can save 30 cents per light bulb, we need, understanding that's really important. Or even understanding, well, it's going to take them 2 years before they can save 50 cents per light bulb. So for the first 2 years, it's going to cost them 5 cents a light bulb extra, because they got to, get the money back from buying the equipment, or from changing things over, or retraining people on how to use it, or whatever, that bump in cost to adopt the machine is. But then after 2 years, then they start getting on the other side of that, and they start making money, right? So all these little details, and I remember I was reading an article by one of the Shark Tank judges or investors, the guy with the shaved head. And one of his things was, all the really successful Shark Tank contestants, one of the common themes was that they all knew these price points really well. They knew the prices, they knew the costs of their things, of their manufacturing process. They knew their competitors' prices and costs. And because that's how you really can kind of wiggle in and really nail a market, or really start to get your foot in the door, because I understand the value I'm bringing. I understand the price point it needs to be. I understand what my competitor's doing. I understand the real value is getting my customer, because the customer is never going to want to admit the value. Actually, when I ran the business in Sarasota, we sold these capacitor winding machines, and whatever price we came up with, right? And we were dealing with big companies like Siemens and GE and whatnot. Whatever price we came up with, it was too high. It didn't matter if it was $10, it was too high. If it was $100, it was too high, right? We could have cut the price in half, and it's still going to be too high. And so, because you end up playing this game, right? So first you talk with the facilities folks, the people that need the machine, that are going to use the machine, that put out the requirements, the technical requirements, and they understand the value. And then it gets passed on to the procurement people, and all they want to do is pound that price down. And they're going to have 1,000 reasons why the price needs to go down. And what I learned was just stand strong on all that. Just don't be affected by any of it. And just keep hammering back on value. And that's why, in certain spaces, having the best machine on the planet, or one of the highest quality machines, is a real nice value add, because then you can always go back to, hey, you know what, you're buying the best machine on the planet. So if you want to go with the competitor and buy, a subpar machine, go ahead. This is what the best machine costs, and this is the value it brings. And if I can even tell my customer, hey, I know that after 13 months you're going to start making your money back, and at 18 months you've paid for the machine, and at 24 months you've increased your margin by 10%. It's going to be hard for them to deny that, if that information's right. And so the question is, how do I find that information? That's where these customer discovery interviews come from, or come in. And it's just a lot of work, because obviously it's not going to be easy to find this information. One of the tricks is typically we have to another bug bite back here on my lower back. Oh, these things, I tell you. Finding someone that just left the company, a retiree, someone that maybe isn't under an agreement where they can't talk about it. So anyway, price versus cost. Price should be based on value, not based on cost. Now, there are some things where, if your product, if you're competing, if you want to have, one of the lowest priced, products out there, that might be a different, story, right? Where your value add is, we are the cheapest. That might be a little different, because now you're looking to really shave your costs. You're going to spend, you're going to buy a different resistor for your electronic device, because it's a half a penny less than the other resistor, than the one that you're currently buying. Stuff like that, right? Because you're going to buy 1 million of them, and it's really going to be a huge cost savings over many, many products. So there are certain instances where you are going to really be relying on cost to create your price. And as you bring that cost down, the price comes down with it, right? So there are things like that. But, in this space where it's a high technology product, it's a high quality product, it's, price should be based on value, not cost. And I remember reading about a company called Lam Research right there in the semiconductor space. And I remember reading about, I forget the gentleman's first name, but Dr. Lam, when he was first building the company. His story was his machines were priced like, I don't say twice as much as the competitor, but like substantially more than the competitor. And he stood strong behind his machines because he knew all these numbers. He knew the value that he was bringing. And obviously he succeeded because he's got like a $6 billion company right now, and he's doing pretty well. So there's a lot to be said about knowing all the price points and the cost points in the value chain, of the competitors, of your customer, just as much of that information as possible. So very critical. And let's see what else we got going on. I think that's about it. So we got a bunch of interviews next week. Next week we get into some really juicy interviews. I'm really psyched. This week we had a bunch of great interviews, and but next week we got some real juicy ones. And this is kind of how this is supposed to progress. I think I have to commend my team. I think we're doing a really good job in interviewing and in digesting the interviews and talking about them. Actually, today we had a State of the Union type of a discussion where we just had a very high level discussion about what we've learned so far, because I think that's important, because with this course there's so much work. The danger is putting my head down, or us putting our heads down and just staying in the work and not kind of lifting up and going, all right, this is kind of like the Gary Vaynerchuk clouds in the dirt thing. It's like if you stay in the dirt too much, you kind of lose sight of what's going on around you, and it can it can cause some serious problems, right? It can cause like the wrong kind of group think. It can you can kind of lose track of where you're going, right? Actually, on my men's team, we have this concept where we do lots of community service events, and if one of the rules is if I'm leading an event, I am not during the event I'm leading, I'm not allowed to do anything like tasky whatsoever, like no matter what it is, or else literally I'll get fired right there on the spot. That's like, we're pretty hardcore with it, right? So because the theory is, if I let's say we're doing an event and there's a meal and now everyone's cleaning up, if I go to help clean up as the leader, I'm not going to see like the playing field. I'm not going to see what's going on out there because I picked up a broom and now my head's over here. So just keeping that kind of that vision across the whole playing field is critical. Now, of course, we're a 3-person team, so we have to get into the weeds to do the the work. We have to get down there, send the emails out to get the interviews. We have to read the market reports and things like that. Oh, and that reminds me, I need to go to the library. Where's my pen? Here it is. To get some market reports. So I will, actually tomorrow might be a great day to do that. Okay, just double circle that. For some reason, 2 circles now it's really important. See? And that was not in my success journal. Shame on me. But anyway, what I was saying is that since we're only 3 people, we have to get into the weeds. We have to get into the trenches, into the dirt, and do that heavy lifting. But I'm really glad that my team is that, I find that we're very complementary, the 3 of us, which is really important. And I think it's working really well. And so what I was getting at before is that we're going through interviews, and the goal is, as you get further through the interviews, right, each interview should become more and more focused on what you're looking for, more and more, just converging on some idea or some value prop or confirming something. And we're starting to get there, and it's only week 2, right? So I think it's interesting. Yeah, it's only week 2. And we're about 30 interviews in, I think, at this point. And we need to get to 75. I have no problem. I'm not concerned at all about getting to 75. But it's not just a numbers game. It needs to be like 75, like value added, interviews, not just to hit a number. So because this is not a homework assignment. This is, we're trying to make progress in a direction, right? Sometimes, when we're in high school and college, right, it's just a homework assignment. You check a box, handed that one in. All right, what's the next homework assignment? But we're building something. We're building the foundation for a potential company. And so it's not a homework assignment. It's tomorrow's work is built on today's work. That was built on yesterday's work. Not these independent interviews that really don't matter. So that is that. So I'm psyched for tomorrow. We have, I think, one interview or a couple. No, yeah, 2 interviews tomorrow. And I need to get into some other work. I'm going to hit the library tomorrow. I think that's really important. Give our industry mentor some homework over the weekend. Let him get into some reading. And and that's your wrap today's post. So thanks for staying in. Appreciate it. I think I'm going to go try to order those t-shirts right now, or at least make some progress on that front. I got my logo all ready for the burn at both ends. And and so this channel is all about my journey as an aspiring entrepreneur, the things I'm doing for success, the failures, the bug bites, the things I forget, like going to the library, and it's all about my journey. And I have to say, I'm really excited about this journey. I'm really into it. So to recap real quickly, right? I really began this burn at both ends journey. I think it was probably around early April of this year is when I started, is when the burn at both ends concept kind of came into my mind, right? So in the beginning of the year, I was elevating my game, and I was getting up early to do about 2 hours of work before the day began. But then I had the story that, after I put the kids to bed at about 9:30, I'm too tired to really get into work. And I was living that story. And, and I was going to bed about 10 o'clock. It's like, oh, I'll go to bed early, get up early. Oh, that'd be great. And I was getting into it, and I have to admit, I wasn't sleeping that well. I was getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and I was not sleeping that well. And then thanks to Gary V, really appreciate it, with his work ethic preaching. And I totally agree. Because of this infinite game, right? So it does make sense. And I heard Elon Musk say it, and I didn't agree with Elon when I first heard it, but now I completely do. He's like, if you work 80-hour weeks, you do twice as much work as someone else. So halfway through the year, you've done a full year's work, right? So the second half of the year is all just bonus work. And I can see why that makes a big deal in this infinite game. And so anyway, back to Gary V. So he really inspired me to go, all right, you know what? Let's change the story on the evening. Let's change it to, I got plenty of energy to burn at the back end of the day. And that's kind of where the concept came in. I was like, oh, I can burn at both ends. And then the website was available, made the logo. Green's one of my favorite colors. That's where that comes in. And here we are. And so we're about, I'd say, almost exactly a month and a half in, right? May 6th was the first channel, or the first channel post, or the beginning of the channel. But I was beginning that burn at both ends work about a month before. It took me about a month to kind of prep for the channel. I just wanted to have a bunch of things in place, obviously, so that way I can kind of get in the flow. And here we are. And I have to say, a lot of awesome things are coming my way. I can tell, I'm agitating my universe. I'm shaking things up, just with this schedule, just with this channel, just with my Ensing, right? So I'm using the Ents platform as the hub for the channel and for just the concept, just to reveal things about my life. I Ents about all kinds of things, me, my kids. I have the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind card that I ends about each day, all that stuff, and I can tell I'm shaking up the universe, and the universe is it's speaking to me. I mean, so some of these interesting opportunities are coming up my way that I know for a fact would not be if I wasn't doing this, and it's very exciting. And I'm starting to see these themes just over and over again. This relationships and timing, this patience and persistence, this storytelling. I mean, I'm just seeing it. It just, it's like, it's that classic thing. It's like, like when you buy a car, right? You buy a red Honda Accord, and then all of a sudden after that, you start noticing all these Honda Accords on the road, right? Whereas it's not like a whole bunch of other people randomly, bought Honda Accords too and started following you around. They were always there. You just didn't notice them because your mindset and your vision's different. Your brain is different because it's picking up different things. The brain's a fascinating thing. So, so just this work I'm doing, this motivation that I've gotten, this inspiration. I mean, and none of this is my idea. I mean, I'm just literally just copying and stealing from all these people that have done this before me. And it's all the same story. It's the same work ethic, self-control, relationships, networking, patience. I mean, it's just the same stuff. Right? So down in the description, there are a bunch of motivational sites linked. So if you start listening to that stuff, you'll see the same themes over and over again. And it doesn't matter who's saying it. It's an actor, it's an athlete, it's me, and or it's whoever it is. It's an entrepreneur, a business person, right? It's the same story. It's the same foundation, and so I'm just really digging the fact that I'm in this, like deep in this, and it's a great journey, and I'm enjoying the journey, and some great things are showing up, some opportunities, and I'm very excited about this nonprofit donation widget, and I'm starting to really brainstorm on how I'm going to approach talking to nonprofits and kind of getting my story in line, and I'm going to attack it just like I'm attacking this channel, just authentic. I'm new in the space. I want to learn about the space. Nonprofit people teach me about the space. Oh yeah, and we have this thing that's pretty cool too, right? That you might want to check out. So anyway, I will wrap there. Another nice long post. I have to admit, I dig these posts, these long posts. So it's my journey. So check out the links below. Motivational videos, some great music. The beat in the background is an Afrobeat inspired by Fela Kuti. G Money is my alter ego. I write these drum beats. Check them out. SoundCloud. I really dig SoundCloud, by the way. And that's it. So get some sleep. I'm gonna check out some t-shirts. And wake up tomorrow, crush it, inspire people, do great things, and I'll see you in the morning.